So now that you have a little bit of background in the behaviorist theory, let's move into what specifically is direct instruction. So direct instruction is one lesson plan model. It's one way to deliver content to students. And the idea behind direct instruction is that lessons need to be carefully planned out, and learning or new content is given in small increments. And we work on very clearly defining what students should be doing, modeling for the students, and then having students follow our lead. So the stimulus in this case would be what the teacher's doing, what the teacher's modeling. Students respond, and then they're given feedback right away. And as you can already tell, this model of instruction fits into the behaviorist learning theory. So teachers are going to present just small chunks, right? So we're not asking students to do a lot at one time. We're just asking them, watch what I do, you do it, we'll do it together, we'll practice, and I'll give you feedback right away, so that remember, learning is behavior according to the behaviorist, so that if your behavior is not what I want, I can redirect, I can reteach, all of those types of things. So direct instruction lessons have 4 main steps. And the first one is introduction. And the teacher does this to establish the purpose of the lesson. The teacher lets students know what we're going to be learning about today. So, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to blah, 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 blah. It's also a way to get students interested in what they're going to be learning. So we don't want to stand up there and just say, all right, today we're going to be learning about the 4 environments in California. But what can we do to give students a purpose to learn that? And then we have the presentation. So here's where the teacher is going to present the new content. It can be facts, procedures, concepts, but in small kind of bite-sized chunks. Then we move into the guided practice. So the teacher has presented the information, modeled what he or she wants the students to be doing. Then we're going to provide the students opportunities to use the new content. So it might be students come up with their own examples. They might be solving problems. So if I've just shown you how to do a long division problem, then we'll do some together so that I can provide corrective feedback. So if you're doing one of the steps wrong, I can easily correct that, because I don't want you to internalize that that's the correct way to do it. And the whole idea of the guided practice is for students to be able to use the information that the student has, or that the teacher has just taught, in a new situation, right? So that they're internalizing the content, so that they're changing their behavior, so that they know when they see a long division problem, okay, here's the first step, here's the second step, right? I have to bring this down, all of that kind of stuff. And then the final step is independent practice. So this is where then students work on their own to practice the new content. And this is often done as homework. And sometimes you'll hear direct instruction referred to as a gradual release model. So if you think about it, these first 2 steps here are very teacher focused. And then the teacher in guided practice gives students, releases them, right, to work, but the teacher is right there to offer support, to redirect, to reteach. And then by the time they get to the independent practice stage, they are totally released. They should be able to do whatever kind of task you're asking them to do on their own. So, in other words, here are the main steps, right? In direct instruction, you need to review previous material, state your objectives, present the new material, do guided practice, do independent practice, and review periodically. And here's a nice little visual for you. So it starts off as the teacher, I do, right, to show you, to demonstrate, to model. We do, so that you're repeating after me or working with me. You do it together, so I might have you working in pairs to help each other. And eventually we move to you doing it alone. And then we want to always go back and just review to keep those skills fresh in your students' brains. So there are districts who have adopted direct instruction as their only way to deliver content. And you're going to see in our program that we don't agree with that. And here's why. Direct instruction is a fantastic way to teach content. But where it works the best is to introduce basic skills. So skills that can be chunked, that are small, I can kind of teach them separately. It's great to teach facts or data for recall. So think about, for example, if I'm teaching students different parts of speech. That's a great time to use direct instruction. All right, today we're going to be working on nouns, and we're going to do a variety of activities. I'll model what a noun is, how to find nouns. Students will do some things. Maybe they're going to look around the room and come up with their own lists of nouns. It's very kind of for basic, setting the stage, so to speak, in developing the knowledge of those basic skills. It's great to teach, for example, if I were teaching the 4 environments of California, that's this small kind of independent segment of content that would be easy for me to do that. But if you look at Bloom's taxonomy, and let me put this here, Bloom talks about these 6 different levels of what we have students do. And we start with the most basic, which is remembering. So can you recall what the definition of a noun is? And you can see here the types of skills, the verbs, the actions that students do at this stage. So they just have to define, repeat, recall. Then we move up to understanding. So can the student explain the idea or concept? So I might say to a student, all right, this alien has just landed on Earth. And the alien says to you, Earthling, I hear this word noun. What is a noun? What does it do? So students then have to explain to somebody who's never heard of a noun before. Then we move up to applying. So can the student use information in a new way? So do you see how we're getting more advanced types of thinking? So for example, I might, after I've taught students nouns, to apply, they might have a list of 10 words, and they have to go through and circle every noun, and then maybe even say, how do you know that's a noun, right? Or how do you know the other words aren't nouns? So you're getting more into choice or interpreting, that kind of thing. Then we move into analyzing. So here would be, for example, after I've taught the parts of speech, giving them a brand new sentence and having them have to go and analyze and be able to identify each part of speech. Or comparing, right, which sentence is more interesting and why. And so I'm getting into a much higher level of thinking. Then we get into evaluating. And here's where students have to take a stand. So they have to be able to defend, that kind of thing. That would be kind of hard to do when I'm teaching parts of speech. And then creating, can students create a new product or a point of view? And I can have students create their own parts of speech books where they're describing themselves, talking about their lives and using all the parts of speech. I can have them create adjective webs of themselves where they cut out adjectives from magazines. So, looking at all of this, the direct instruction model focuses in on these two basic levels. So in direct instruction lessons, we're really just wanting to get students to be able to recall. So a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. To understand, right? Can you locate the nouns in this list or in this sentence? So direct instruction works the best for the two lowest levels of Bloom's taxonomy. When we get up into these levels, really direct instruction doesn't hit on those. So we need to be focusing in on a different type of lesson plan model.